Hi, I'm Maria and I have been invited by the Ábaco Club channel to talk as a psychologist about motivation. So let's go. When I think about motivation, I think of the Latin word movere, which means movement. But of course, it's not as simple as that. Motivation is really complex because we have internal and external motivation, we have conscious and unconscious motivation, we have motivation because and produced because of emotions, because of thoughts, and because of basic needs. So there's really lots of ways motivation has been studied, there's really lots of theories, and there's lots of definitions. Some people have believed that it is possible to have an utter lack of motivation, no motivation at all. Others disagree, like Carl Rogers or Abraham Maslow, and they explain that motivation is an essential part of the human being. Motivation can fluctuate, but it cannot disappear. There's also many problems when they are studying motivation because, of course, as I said, there's unconscious motivation, and then there's the fact that we are humans and we lie to ourselves and we lie to investigators because we're social beings and we like to be liked. Anyways, when we say we want to feel motivated, we most probably mean we want to feel in control of our surroundings and be proud of ourselves. We're thinking of wanting to become the person we aspire to be, and we fantasize about the feeling of having all of our goals fulfilled. But yeah, it's just a fantasy. It's not possible because we're constantly creating new goals. Regarding goals, we often forget that our body has its own goals, and they are also really, really, really important, and we have to respect them, and we have to respect our body. This is so important because, for example, one of our basic needs, such as hunger, is not being met. Then we have a primary motivation, which will be really, really strong, and will impulse us, will drive us to find food, of course. And that's okay, but if we want to have secondary motivations, and secondary motivations appear when we want to have goals that are personal, social, professional, that are not based in basic needs, then we have to have our basic needs met. For example, if I were to try to study for an exam, but at the same time I'm feeling thirsty or hungry, of course that primary motivation of going and searching for food or for a drink is going to interrupt my secondary motivation. So primary motivations can overpower easily secondary motivations, and that's why we have to be really conscious of our state of our body and take care of it, because otherwise we cannot have any goals related to personal growth. Psychologists have also explained that you can be motivated by emotions. For example, an interesting thing that happens when we're feeling super scared in an immediate way and in a way that we can't do anything about. We might display some involuntary actions. It's called the fight, flight, freeze response. And as I said, they're involuntary. We do not decide to do these actions, and in theory they're supposed to be obviously actions that exist to help us survive, even though obviously nobody likes the freezing reaction. But yeah, it's important to know that it's not a decision, so we shouldn't feel guilty if this happens to us or blame another person, obviously. All this talking about unconscious and involuntary actions and motivation doesn't mean we don't have any control on ourselves and on our surroundings. Of course not, and we will see how much control we have. We can also become motivated to act a certain way because of external stimuli, for example positive reinforcers such as money. And of course we can be that stimuli, that reinforcement for others. If we say to a kid, if you behave well, we will go to your favorite park, or if you behave well, you will make me really happy, or I will give you a surprise. With these sentences, what we're doing is just reinforcing the kid. We're helping him learn which actions are valued in the adult world, and that way we'll be helping him to develop in a healthier way. If you want to know more about positive reinforcements and punishments and the effect that these have in the learning process, please check the PDF file. An excellent thing about motivating others is that we may learn from it too. So for example, when we've been applauding our nurses and our doctors at 8 p.m, we know that we've been making them capable of continuing to fight for us. But in turn, we have also been able to learn that gratitude is a valuable motivator, and that we can apply it to other areas of our life without any cost for us. Another very interesting thing about motivations is that goals that were once associated with your values and who you wanted to become can change because of external reinforcements such as money. So imagine you are an artist and you paint as a hobby. You love to paint and you maybe sometimes sell a painting to a family member. Imagine now that you got recruited and suddenly you're receiving money for each piece of artwork you make because they are easily being sold. It might surprise you. What could go wrong, right? Well, something could go wrong. In the long run, what may happen is that progressively you forget about how much you enjoy painting and start believing that money is the real reason you enjoyed it in the first place. You may believe that you became a good artist once it became your full-time job. This process was named the hidden cost of reward. If you would like to know more about it, you can check it in the PDF document. There's also information, as I said, about types of reinforcements and punishments. Sometimes we feel that we have motivation to do something, but we're not feeling that motivation as strongly as we would like to, or as we did in the past. We get the feeling that we have to put too much effort to find the enthusiasm that we had before. This just may be because we have many other goals and objectives in mind. Our energy is being shared. When we adapt to adult life, we are assuming greater responsibility at all levels. Our motivations are divided among many more goals than before. Not only friends, but also work and our employees and our house, our family, our partner, pets, whatever, etc. So understand that may be normal, and that you can always check your priorities or make changes in your life. Now we're going to try an exercise and let's see what we can learn. So grab a pen and grab the worksheet of the goals or a normal piece of paper. You're going to have to write 5 of your goals, but take into account some things that I'm going to tell you. In the first place, you have to write goals in which you feel control. For example, winning a big lottery ticket or curing someone from a psychological disorder is not realistic unless you're intending to cheat or are a psychologist. So it's important that you're not risking your self-esteem and you're putting to good use your energy. In the second place, make sure that there are goals, both long-term and short-term, and we will explain later why this is important. Make sure also that they are not avoidance goals. For example, it's not the same wanting to get a job to avoid feeling useless. It's not the same that than wanting to get a job to improve your life and your situation or feeling useful. The first one is an avoidance goal and the second is an achievement goal. The same happens with studies. Wanting to pass an exam to avoid failing is different from wanting to pass an exam to master a subject. So the way we talk about ourselves and what we want is important because we can influence our motivation. So make sure you write your goals in a way that you clearly feel them as an achievement, as achievement goals, instead of avoidment goals. Otherwise, you might not obtain the results you want. Make also sure that these goals will make you feel proud if accomplished. They should showcase your desires and or values, and not what others may have demanded from you, or at least not only what they have demanded from you. Okay, pause the video and do the exercise. So now that you have your 5 goals, choose the one that you would like to fulfill the most. We can take advantage of this time to visualize an achievable goal. So now mentally imagine that path to your goal and its steps and the way you move forward to it. What strategies you could put into place? Think of what kind of demands you would encounter. Are there any incentives on the way, or are there any possible difficulties? How are they? Think about how long you think you'll have to persevere, and think about how you could use your knowledge and your resources to navigate the experiences that come with it. Who could assist you, or who could support you if at putting all of your efforts? What sensations will you have during the process? Feel free to explore all of this, writing or drawing your thoughts or your ideas. Dedicate the time you need, and pause this video to really do the exercise. So this exercise you just did is a mental simulation exercise. Mental simulations can improve the quality of the motivation towards a goal, and this will lead to a greater probability of achieving it, because during the simulation process we connect with our experiences and we can adjust them better. We are able to envision better the amount of effort that we may need and the problems we may encounter on the way. That's why motivational coaches do these techniques, and they also often recommend that we publicly share our goals by giving details to a group. This way they also create a very positive memory that we can use to persevere in the future. I encourage you to practice this exercise with the rest of your goals, and also try to share those goals and explain them to someone you appreciate, and I'm sure that person will also appreciate the confidence you put into the relationship. But motivation coaches aren't the only one who value power of imagination, as you might imagine. So salespeople also value imagination. They know that they can use our imagination to motivate us to buy from them. They encourage us to imagine ourselves using certain products or services by directing our mental process, asking us to focus not on the things like how to collect money or to pay for it, which would be really convenient, but to focus only on the marvelous characteristics and specs of that product that they're trying to sell us, and imagine us in our life using it. Anyways, as we said, there are many things we have to take into account to set ourselves healthy goals. One thing that I haven't mentioned is we have to make ourselves a very serious question. This question being, do I really feel capable of trying and or achieving that goal? Because if we set ourselves to achieve a goal before feeling ready for it, for example because of social pressure, that can affect the quality of the motivation, and we might not persevere enough. Therefore, the ideal moment is when we feel confident in ourselves and the goals. Often expectations of effectiveness are affected by traumatic or negative experience story. For example, if I set myself the goal of starting to drive again, but the most recent experience I had was traumatic, it is possible that I won't be feeling in control while I'm trying. It is possible that if I fail while I'm so insecure, my self-esteem will suffer more and I'll be feeling more helpless towards driving. So as long as I do not receive psychological help or emotional support, I will not regain enough confidence in myself, and then it might not be helpful or healthy to try and drive. With psychological help, I will probably slowly be able to approach the experience, so that fear and insecurity do not take over my behavior while I'm driving. This actually happened to me, but you might identify with this experience in different ways. For example, a common thing that we all experience is having someone tell us that we're not going to achieve something or we're not going to be good at it. And unconsciously and unwillingly, we might have believed it. So in order to pursue that important goal, we might want to check if we believe in ourselves in that sense. And if we don't, we might want to do what I did, which is seek for help. In the PDF document available, you can find some examples of psychological experiences that explored learned helplessness. But please bear in mind, some of the examples might be upsetting to some people. Now comes the fun part. So here are my tips that you may find useful. In the first place, strive to remember what made you feel alive, what caused your happiness and laughter before confinement, and plan your life not only to recover what you already had, but to improve it if it's possible. So say, for example, that you used to go for a run to feel good 2 days a month, and now you can plan differently so that you can devote 4 days a month to do that sport. Tip number 2, take advantage of the possibility of going out. Even if you are introvert, or even if we've adapted to confinement so well that we have gained greater appreciation towards solitary introspection, we are social beings, and the spontaneity that characterizes in-person interaction with other people generates an emotional impact on us that stimulates our mind, our creativity. After all, as I said, we are social beings. Third, if you talk about your goals, replace the expression I have to with I'm going to. Why? Because the expression I have to portrays to others and to ourselves an obligation instead of a self-determination. So it might undermine your motivation to achieve that goal. So remember, your internal speech is important. Surround yourself with people who demonstrate a proactive perspective, who believe that they have the power to change things in their life and in their surroundings, people who believe in themselves and people who you admire. This is called internal locus of control, and you can find more information in the PDF. We can learn from everyone. In fact, we never stop learning from others. However, if we surround ourselves with people who are optimistic, we might learn how to become optimistic too. 5. Find ways to practice your hobbies in more social contexts. At this current moment, it might be responsible, but remember, you can always join online group classes. Sharing goals with people can help us when we get frustrated in any way, because seeing how our fellow friends are going through the similar struggles or how they are managing can help our motivation to persist. So sharing also helps us open up to new experiences. Keep a diary of your objectives and goals and the reason why they are important for you. As we learn, sometimes we can forget how important or how fun some things are for us. Also, make sure that the goals you have are both long-term and short-term. Why? Because long-term goals allow for a bigger accomplishment feeling, but require more energy, whereas short-term goals can be less rewarding, but require less energy. So a combination of both is the healthier way to go. 7. When we feel exhausted, search for energy in others by asking them about the strategies to maintain and improve motivation toward their goals. Use safe and quality relationships to ask for advice or emotional support when frustrated with a goal. Asking for help or advice does not portray a lack of capacity, but rather shows capacity, because seeking help will always be a very useful strategy to put into practice, and the other person can probably feel grateful for being able to get to know you better. Remember that failing doesn't mean that you're a failure or that you shouldn't continue trying. You can actually grow stronger from that experience. That's why one of my favorite expressions is, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. 8. We must open our minds to thoughts that positively compare our circumstances and not just keep reflecting on how things could be better. Seeing the bad is necessary, but seeing the good is also possible and important. For example, now more than ever, People value the positive effects that a walk in the countryside and that moderate exercise outdoors has. We have noticed during confinement that our muscle fatigue was worse, that we were having less vitality because we were lacking direct contact with nature and the sun. Many people who previously did not see all of the benefits that they were missing are now really taking advantage of them and planning a more active lifestyle for the body. Many people now value their neighbors more and have decided to leave behind meaningless quarrels, or, for example, value more their partner or the family members. Many have recalled the importance of showing affection. Many have now decided to explore the world of social networks and even online training, and many people are feeling grateful for the worldwide reduction of pollution. So trying to be helpful is also very helpful. Work on accepting your emotions. We live in a world where sometimes we will unconsciously teach young girls not to accept anger because it is believed to be masculine. A girl shouldn't showcase anger. And to fake happiness. Sometimes something strange happens too with the education of boys. They won't be allowed to feel deep sadness because it's considered feminine. Boys don't cry. This faking and escaping for emotions is damaging and doesn't make any sense because emotions are genderless. Developing emotional regulation is necessary to feel empowered and to tolerate the times when things don't go as expected. Back to self-care. So as we learned, if your basic needs aren't being taken care of, then trying to follow secondary motivation will probably cause you stress and you might fail. But this can also happen if you're very stressed. You might fail if you're very stressed. So take advantage of the current moment to reorganize your priorities and have some time for yourself to relax. Remember, not everything can be controlled, and excessive control or perfectionism can harm us. Although you apply all the tips, we are not robots and we are not in a laboratory. So remind yourself that there might be a bit of chaos, whether it comes from ourselves or from the outside, and that is fine. Chaos makes everything less boring and gives us a chance to overcome things, to learn from ourselves and to find new things to laugh about.